Top of the day, beautiful people. Top of the day. It is September the 11th, 2021. Day 257 of year 3 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets. Another 3-year consecutive day count, day 926. Guys, today we're finishing up the book of Micah with Micah chapter 7. Then we're going to read Nahum, and we're going to read all of it. And we're going to go ahead and read those little 3 short chapters, Nahum 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to pick up with our reading. Demi, shalom, shalom. Okay, y'all. So let's go ahead and do this the shimmer. There's a squirrel sitting right on here on my window ledge. Okay. Go ahead and get started so we can get through this today. All right, y'all, remember the Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, and we start in verse 3. But remember, read the full chapter for everything. I kind of sum up the meat and potatoes for you. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the mighty one of our fathers, has promised us, in a land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, therefore, O Israel. I'm starting over. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our mighty one, he is one, and you shall love Yahuwah, your mighty one, with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah, our mighty one, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah, our mighty one, as he has commanded us. Robert Twabu. All right, y'all. And for all those that don't know, who's been here or newly coming, a while ago I explained what Betwabu was. Betwabu is a greeting, right? You're greeting one another, acknowledging you are the house of the Father, Bet El, right? The house of Bethel is Betwabu, and they normally say it twice, Betwabu, acknowledging, yes, I am the house of the Father. You are the house of the Father. We literally are the house of Yahuwah, right? So Betwabu, Betwabu. All right, y'all. Let's see. Put in the Micah. All right, y'all. Micah chapter 7. Misery turned to hope. Shayla, Auntie, joyful risings. Betwabu. All right. Misery turned to hope. How miserable I am. I feel like the fruit picker after the harvest who can find nothing to eat. Not a cluster of grapes or a single early fig can be found to satisfy my hunger. The godly people have all disappeared. Not one honest person is left on the earth. They are all murderers, setting traps even for their own brothers. Both their hands are equally skilled at doing evil. Officials and judges alike demand bribes. The people with influence get what they want, and together they scheme to twist justice. Even the best of them is like a briar. The most honest is as dangerous as a hedge of thorns. But your judgment day is coming swiftly now. Your time of punishment is here, a time of confusion. Don't trust anyone, not your best friend or even your wife. For the son despises his father, the daughter defies her mother, the daughter in law defies her mother in law. Your enemies are right in your own household. As for me, I look to Yahuwah for help. I wait confidently for my God to save me, and my God will certainly hear me. Do not gloat over me, my enemies, for though I fall, I will rise again. Though I sit in darkness, Yahuwah will be my light. I will be as patient as Yahuwah punishes me, for I have sinned against him. But after that, he will take up my case and give me justice for all I have suffered from my enemies. And I will then Yahuwah will bring me into the light, and I will see his righteousness. Then my enemies will see that Yahuwah is on my side. They will be ashamed that they taunted me, saying, So where is your Lord, that God of yours? With my own eyes, I will see their downfall. They will be trampled like mud in the streets. In that day, Israel, your cities will be rebuilt, and your borders will be extended. People from many lands will come and honor you, from Assyria all the way to the towns of Egypt, from Egypt all the way to the Euphrates River, and from the distant seas and mountains. But the land will become empty and desolate because of the wickedness of those who live there. Yahuwah's compassion on Israel. O Yahuwah, protect your people with your shepherd's staff. Lead your flock, your special possession. Though they live alone in the thicket, on the heights of Mount Carmel, let them graze in a fertile pasture of Bashan and Gilead as they did long ago. Yes, says Yahuwah, I will do mighty miracles for you, like those I did when I rescued you from slavery in Egypt. All the nations of the world will stand amazed at what Yahuwah will do for you. They will be embarrassed at their feeble power. They will cover their mouths in silent awe, deaf to everything around them. Like snakes crawling from their holes, they will come out to meet Yahuwah our God. They will fear him greatly, trembling in terror at his presence. Where is another God like you, who pardons the guilt of the remnant, overlooking the sins of his special people? You will not stay angry with your people forever, because you delight in showing unfailing love. Once again, you will have compassion on us and throw them into the depths of the ocean. You will show us your faithfulness and unfailing love, as you promised to our ancestors, Abraham and Jacob, long ago. Jerry, shalom. All right, y'all. Next chapter, which is the first chapter of the book of Nahum. We just finished reading the last chapter of Micah, and that was Micah chapter 7. Yahuwah's anger against Nineveh. This message concerning Nineveh came as a vision to Nahum, who lived in Elkosh. Yahuwah is a jealous God, filled with vengeance and rage. He takes revenge on all who opposes him and continues to rage against his enemies. Yahuwah is slow to get angry, but his power is great, and he never lets the guilty go unpunished. He displays his power in the whirlwind and the storm. The billowing clouds are the dust beneath his feet. At his command, the oceans dry up and the rivers disappear. The lush pastures of Bashan and Carmel fade, and the green forests of Lebanon wither. In his presence, the mountains quake, and the hills melt away. The earth trembles, and its people are destroyed. Who can stand before his fierce anger? Who can survive his burning fury? His rage blazes forth like fire, and the mountains crumble to dust in his presence. Yahuwah is good, a strong refuge when trouble comes. He is close to those who trust in him, but he will sweep away his enemies in an overwhelming flood. He will pursue his foes into the darkness of night. Why are you scheming against Yahuwah? He will destroy you with one blow. He won't need to strike twice. His enemies, tangled like thorn bushes and staggering like drunks, will be burned up like dry stubble in a field. Who is this wicked counselor of yours who plots evil against Yahuwah? This is what Yahuwah says. Though the Assyrians have many allies, they will be destroyed and disappear. O my people, I have punished you before, but I will not punish you again. Now I will break the yoke of bondage from your neck and tear off the chains of the Assyrian oppression. And this is what Yahuwah says concerning the Assyrians in Nineveh. You will have no more children to carry your name. I will destroy all the idols in the temples of your gods. I am preparing a grave for you because you are despicable. Look, a messenger is coming over the mountains with good news. He is bringing a message of peace. Celebrate your festivals, O people of Judah, and fulfill your vows. For your wicked enemies will never invade your land again. They will be completely destroyed. Chapter, Nahum chapter 2, the fall of Nineveh. Your enemy is coming to crush you, Nineveh. Man the ramparts, watch the roads, prepare your defenses, call out your forces. Even though the destroyer has destroyed Judah, Yahuwah will restore its honor. Israel's vine has been stripped of branches, but he will restore its splendor. Shields flash red in the sunlight. See the scarlet uniforms of the valiant troops. Watch as their glittering chariots move into position with a forest of spears waving above them. The chariots race recklessly along the streets and rush wildly through the squares. They flash like firelight and move as swiftly as lightning. The king shouts to his officers. They stumble in their haste, rushing to the walls to set up their defenses. The river gates have been torn open. The palace is about to collapse. Nineveh's exile has been decreed, and all the servant girls mourn its capture. They moan like doves and beat their breasts in sorrow. Nineveh is like a leaking water reservoir. The people are slipping away. Stop, stop, someone shouts, but no one even looks back. Loot the silver, plunder the gold. There is no end to Nineveh's treasures, its vast, uncounted wealth. Soon the city is plundered, empty, and ruined. Hearts melt and knees shake. The people stand aghast, their faces pale and trembling. Where now is that great Nineveh, that den filled with young lions? It was a place where people, like lions and their cubs, walked freely and without fear. The lion tore up meat for its cubs and strangled prey for its mate. He filled his den with prey, his caverns with his plunder. I am your enemy, says Yahuwah, the God of heaven's armies. Your chariots will soon go up in smoke. Your young men will be killed in battle. Never again will you plunder conquered nations. The voices of your proud messengers will be heard no more. Sis, what you got in your hand?
Dad gave me it.
Dad gave it to you. When I walked out the room, Dad was still asleep. He might be woke. Okay.
No, he was back asleep.
He woke up and said you could have that. And he went back to sleep. Last chapter for the day. Nahum chapter 3, which is also the last chapter in the book of Nahum. Yahuwah's judgment against Nineveh. What sorrow awaits Nineveh, a city of murderer and lie, a city of murder and lies. She is crammed with wealth and is never without victims. Hear the crack of the whips and rumble of wheels. Horses' hooves pound and chariots clatter wildly. See the flashing swords and glittering spears as the charioteers charge past. There are countless casualties, heaps of bodies, so many bodies that people stumble over them. All this because Nineveh, the beautiful and faithless city, mistress of deadly charms, enticed the nations with her beauty. She taught them all her magic, enchanting people everywhere. I am your enemy, says Yahuwah, the God of heaven's armies, and now I will lift your skirt and show the earth your nakedness and shame. I will cover you with filth and show the world how vile you really are. And all who see you will shriek back and say, Nineveh lies in ruins. Where are the mourners? Does anyone regret your destruction? Are you any better than the city of Thebes, situated on the Nile River, surrounded by water? She was protected by the river on all sides, walled in by water. Ethiopia and the land of Egypt gave unlimited assistance. The nations of Put and Libya were among her allies. Yet Thebes fell, and her people were led away as captives. Her babies were dashed to death against the stones of the streets. Soldiers threw dice to get Egyptian officers as servants. All their leaders were bound in chains. Joy, shalom. Something real quick, something that I just found out in my little research and study. Did you realize it says right here in verse 9? Ethiopia and the land of Egypt gave unlimited assistance. But do you know that the people of Egypt actually came from Ethiopia? So all those things that were found in Ethiopia were that were found in Egypt, and all that they were practicing was originally done in Ethiopia because Egypt's people were Ethiopians who had migrated, who kind of broke away from Ethiopia. Y'all should look into that. And all the things that they found in Egypt, all the hieroglyphs and all that stuff, it was being taught in Ethiopia. And not just Ethiopia, but they travel everywhere, which is why you can find some of these same Egyptian artifacts all around the world. People came from all around the world to learn about what they were teaching in Egypt. But Egypt's people were from Ethiopia, right? But who else went into Egypt after they had broke away such a long time after they moved from Ethiopia? It was Israel. Israel was there for quite a long time, even before they were in bondage, right? Before they were in bondage. Right? So a lot of the stuff that came out of Egypt and some of the great things that all the world knows about that came from Egypt actually was being taught and learned by Israel itself. Y'all should look into that. Okay. Ethiopia and the land of Egypt gave unlimited assistance. The nations of Put and Libya were among her allies, yet Thebes fell, and her people were led away as captives. Her babies were dashed to death against the stones of the streets. Soldiers threw dice to get the Egyptian officers as servants. All their leaders were bound in chains. And you, Nineveh, will also stagger like a drunkard. You will hide for fear of the attacking enemy. All your fortresses will fall. They will be devoured like the ripe figs. They'll fall into the mouths of those who shake the trees. Your troops will be as weak and helpless as women.
Mom, look, I made
I see, cool.
a breast bracelet.
I see it.
This is a necklace.
Okay. Your troops will be as weak and helpless as women. The gates of your land will be opened wide to the enemy and set on fire and burned. Get ready for the siege. Store up water. Strengthen the defenses. Go into the pits of the trampled clay and pack it into molds, making bricks to repair the walls. But the fire will devour you. The sword will cut you down. The enemy will consume you like locusts, devouring everything they see. There will be no escape. Even if you multiply like swarming locusts, your merchants have multiplied until they outnumber the stars. But like a swarm of locusts, they strip the land and fly away. Your guards and officials are also like swarming locusts. They crowd together in the hedges on a cold day, but like locusts that fly away when the sun comes up, all of them will fly away and disappear. Your shepherds are asleep, O Assyrian king. Your princes lie dead in the dust. Your people are scattered across the mountains with no one to gather them together. There is no healing for your wound. Your injury is fatal. All who hear of your destruction will clap their hands for joy. Where can anyone be found who has not suffered from your continual cruelty? And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. That was the last chapter of Micah, chapter 7, and all of the book of Nahum, chapter 1, 2, and 3.
Mom.
Yes.
The last one.
I know, that's for tomorrow. That's the page for tomorrow. We'll mark it up tomorrow.
And right here, and right here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, y'all. All right.
And right here.
Okay, y'all. So we started yesterday reading. They were doing the typological connections between Jesus and Titus, and it gave a list of 34. And yesterday we read through 7 of them. So we're going to keep on reading with number 8. The herd ran violently, meaning in Jesus's ministry and Titus's ministry, all of these in the same exact order, they had the same type of event that happened.
Why is it Titus?
We're not talking about Titus from YouTube, Tootie. We're talking about Titus, one of the emperors of Rome, one of the Caesars of Rome.
They're not over there.
Yeah, they're not there anymore. Okay, number 8. The herd ran violently. Luke next describes how the herd ran. Quote, and the herd ran violently, end quote. And you can find that in Luke chapter 8, verse 33. Josephus next describes how the group ran. Quote, and like the wildest of wild beasts, they rushed upon the point of others' swords, so some of them were destroyed. End quote. Wars of the Jews, 4:8 and 4:25. Number 9, the herd drowned. Luke next describes that the herd drowned. Quote, down the steep place into the lake and drowned. End quote. Luke chapter 8, verse 33. Josephus next describes that the herd drowned. Quote, they then extended themselves a very great way along the banks of the river and sustained the darts that were thrown at them, as well as the attacks of the horsemen who beat many of them and pushed them into the current. End quote. Wars of Jews 4:8 and 4:34. To digress, the reason that different gospels refer to the location of the demoniac as Gadara and Gerasa, and that one version has 1 and others 2 demoniacs, is that the demoniac tale foresees both rebel leaders, John, who battled the Romans around Gadara, and Simon, called Simon of Gesera, Wars of the Jews 4:9 and 5:03. The different demoniac stories were not, as is often suggested, garbled traditions, but rather were written intertextually, which is to say that all the details within the parallel stories add to the information the authors wish to communicate. Number 10, identification of the Son of a living God. Luke then goes on to describe Jesus' identification.
No, I can end it.
No, just because you're done don't mean you can end it. You have to wait till I'm done. Okay, very good, sis. Luke then goes on to describe Jesus' identification as the Son of the living God. Obviously, this event foresaw the ascension of Vespasian to Caesar and God, and to Titus as the Son of God. Who do the crowds say that I am? So they answered and said, John the Baptist, but some say Elijah, and others say that one of the old prophets has risen again. He said to them, but who do you say that I am? Peter answered and said, the Christ of God. Stop, Bella. Stop. Thank you. And that's found in Luke chapter 9, verses 18 through 20. And in Matthew, the Son of the living God. Also, if you read in the legends of the Jews, right? The legends of the Jews, you also read about Titus and how, matter of fact, I'm gonna put it in here for you so y'all can go read that too.
Mom.
Titus did exalt himself. Yes.
Mom, I can have the last candy so I like it.
No, that's his. Put it back. He exalted himself as a god and even built around his palace a contraption that would further push his lie that he was a god, where he, if I remember correctly, he built this stairwell which ascended so high And he, go back and read it. He made people think that this stairwell, because it was built so high, that it actually ascended into the heavens, right? And he had these makeshift clouds. However, he did that, I'm just going to say it was a form of magic that he used to fool the people on what it was that he did. And Yahuwah addressed him when he did that. He said, "You are no God at all," right? So I'm going to put that in there. I don't want to screw up the story. But I put it in there from the Legends of the Jews, and you should probably read that along with all the other stuff too. You should read them simultaneously or one after the other, so you'll be able to see how everything kind of goes together and how they were, telling this bigger story, but not putting all the pieces in one place. It's kind of like a scavenger hunt. Okay. All right, and the portion from Wars of the Jews is, quote, "He, Vespasian, had not arrived at the government without divine providence, but a righteous kind of fate had brought the empire under his power," end quote. Wars of the Jews 4:10 and 6:22. Josephus recorded in another passage that Vespasian's ascension had been the fulfillment of the Jews' messianic prophecies. Quote, "What did the most to induce the Jews to start this war was an ambiguous oracle that was found in their sacred writings, how about that time one from their country should become governor of the habitable earth. The Jews took this prediction to belong to themselves in particular, and many of the wise men were thereby deceived in their determination. Now, this oracle certainly denoted the dynasty of Vespasian, who was appointed emperor in Judea," end quote. And you can find it in Wars of the Jews 6:5 and 3:12 through 3:13. The Roman authors Suetonius and Tacitus also gave the same interpretation of the prophecy. Quote, "There had spread over all the Orient an old and established belief that it was fated for men coming from Judea to rule the world. This prediction, referring to the emperor of Rome, as afterwards appeared from the event the people of Judah took to themselves," end quote. And you can find that in the Life of Vespasian by Suetonius, pages, what to say, 4.5. Maybe that's chapter 4, verse 5. I don't know. It's 4.5. Okay. Quote, "The majority of the Jews were convinced that the ancient scriptures of their priests alluded to the present as the very time when the Orient would triumph and from Judea would go forth men destined to rule the world. This mysterious prophecy really referred to Vespasian and Titus, but the common people, true to the selfish ambitions of mankind, thought that this exalted destiny was reserved for them, and not even their calamities opened their eyes to the truth," end quote. And that's found in Histories 5.13 by Tacitus. What is often overlooked is that by claiming the mantle of Christ for themselves, the Flavians were creating a Christian religion. Thus, when considering the numerous Flavian family connections to early Roman Christianity, the possibility that early Flavian Christianity was the basis for today's Christianity is a logical one. Number 11, binding and loosing. Next, there is an obvious parallel concerning binding and loosing. Many scholars have commented upon the similarities, but none attempted to place the tale into the dual storylines, of course. In Matthew, it is in the same passage and follows the identification of the Son of the living God in Luke chapter 9, verses 18 through 20 above. Quote, "So they said, some say John the Baptist, some Elijah, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. He said to them, But who do you say that I am? Simon Peter answered and said, You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Then Jesus answered and said, And I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatsoever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." end quote. Matthew 16, 14 through 19. Quote, O Father, it is but just that the scandal of a prisoner should be taken off Josephus, together with his iron chain. For if we do not barely loose his bonds, but cut them to pieces, he will be like a man that had never been bound at all. End quote. Wars of the Jews, 4:10 and 6:28 through 6:29. Number 12. He who does not follow with us, but cast out demons. Luke then describes a dispute amongst the followers of the Christ, followed by Jesus, telling them to let anyone casting out demons do so because he who is not against us is on our side. Quote, then a dispute arose among them as to which of them would be the greatest. And Jesus, perceiving the thought of their heart, took a little child and set him by him and said to them, whoever receives this little child in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives him who sent me. For he who is least among you all will be great. Now John answered and said, Master, we saw someone casting out demons in your name, and we forbade him because he does not follow with us. But Jesus said to him, do not forbid him, for he who was not against us, for he who is not against us is on our side. End quote. And you can find that in Luke chapter 9, verses 46 through 50. Josephus describes a dispute that broke out between the rebel leaders. Notice that the names of the individuals having the dispute were Simon, John, and Lazarus, the names of Jesus' followers. From the Flavian perspective, though these rebels did not follow with us as they were killing one another, they were casting out demons. And now, quote, okay. And now there were three treacherous factions in the city, the one parted from the other. Eleazar and his party that kept the sacred first fruits came against John and their cups. Those that were with John plundered the populace and went out with zeal against Simon. This Simon had his supply of provisions from the city in opposition to the seditious. When therefore John was assaulted on both sides, he made his men turn about, throwing his darts upon those citizens that came up against him from the cloisters he had in his possession, while he opposed those that attacked him from the temple by his engines of war. And if at any time he was freed from those that were above him, which happened frequently, from their being drunk and tired, he sallied out with a great number upon Simon and his party. And this he did always in such parts of the city as he could come at, till he set on fire those houses that were full of corn and of all other provisions. The same thing was done by Simon, when, upon the others' retreat, he attacked the city also, as if they had on purpose done it to serve the Romans, by destroying what the city had laid up against the siege, and by thus cutting off the nerve of their own power. End quote. And you can find that in Wars of the Jews 5:1 and 21 through 24. On the road to Jerusalem, number 13. On to Jerusalem, the messengers are sent ahead. At the end of his Galilean campaign, Luke recorded that Jesus marched out of Galilee towards Jerusalem. When read in the perspective of this analysis, Luke's words are chilling and their meaning transparent. Quote, now it came to pass, when the time had come for him to be received up, that he steadfastly set his face to go to Jerusalem and sent messengers before his face. End quote. And you can find that in Luke chapter 9, verse 51. Josephus, keeping in sequence, recorded that Titus then marched on to Jerusalem, and like his typological forerunner, he sent out messengers, his legions, before him. Quote, Titus, when he had gotten together part of his forces about him and had ordered the rest to meet him at Jerusalem, marched out of Caesarea. End quote. Wars of the Jews 5:1 and 40. Number 14, don't bury your dead or look back. Luke then presents a story about a follower who is scolded by Jesus for wanting to bury his dead, and then is told to not look back but forward to the kingdom of God. Quote, then he said to another, follow me. But he said, Lord, let me first go and bury my father. Jesus said to him, let the dead bury their own dead, but you go and preach the kingdom of God. And another also said, Lord, I will follow you, but let me first go and bid them farewell who are at my house. But Jesus said to him, no one having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of God. End quote. Luke chapter 5, verse 59 through 62. What? It sounds like you have on your skates. You on a skateboard. You better be careful. You better take that skateboard back through there and put it. You getting pretty smooth with your little turn, sis. This passage in Luke links to Josephus' description of the 12th legion. The legion had been beaten by the Jews in the war's first battle. Josephus wrote that the legion, quote, marched now with greater alacrity to avenge themselves on the Jews as remembering what they had formerly suffered, end quote. You can find that in Wars of the Jews 5, 1, and 41. In other words, the legion was not to worry about burying its dead, but to focus on following Titus to vengeance. In Luke chapter 9, Jesus states that he will be followed. Josephus records that, quote, Titus went in the front of the army, end quote. You can find it in Wars of the Jews 5, 1, and 50. To digress, once the correct interpretive framework is understood, Luke's concluding passage to Jesus' Galilean ministry becomes so obvious as to almost not require comment. The passage depicts Titus sending his legions to Jerusalem, his destruction of Galilee, and the hidden identity of the God and his father, Vespasian. Quote, and this is a long quote. It's all from Luke chapter 10. It's all 22 verses. Hey, close that. After these things, the Lord appointed 70 others also, and sent them 2 by 2 before his face into every city and place where he himself was about to go. Then he said to them, the harvest is truly great, but the laborers are few. Therefore, pray to the Lord of the harvest to send out the laborers into his harvest. Go your way. Behold, I send you out as lambs among wolves. Carry neither money bag, knapsack, nor sandals, and greet no one along the road. But whatever house you enter, first say, peace to this house. And if a son of peace is there, your peace will rest on it. But if not, it will return to you. And remain in the same house, eating and drinking such things as they give, for the laborer is worthy of his wages. Do not go from house to house. Whatever city you enter, and they receive you, eat such things as are set before you, and heal the sick there, and say to them, the kingdom of God has come near to you. But whatever city you enter, and they do not receive you, go out into its streets and say, the very dust of your city, which clings to us, we wipe off against you. Nevertheless, know this, that the kingdom of God has come near you. But I say to you that it will be more tolerable in that day for Sodom than for that city. Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the mighty works which were done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago, sitting in sackcloth and ashes. But it will be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon at the judgment than for you. And you, Capernaum, who are exalted to heaven, will be brought down to Hades. He who hears you hears me. He who rejects me, and he who rejects, he who hears you hears me. He who rejects you rejects me, and he who rejects me rejects him who sent me. Then the 70 returned with joy, saying, Lord, even the demons are subject to us in your name. And he said to them, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Behold, I give you the authority to trample on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Nevertheless, do not rejoice in this, that the spirits are subject to you, but rather rejoice because your names are written in heaven. In that hour, Jesus rejoiced in the Spirit and said, I thank you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, that you have hidden these things from the wise and the prudent and revealed them to babes. Even so, Father, for it seemed good in your sight. All things have been delivered to me by my Father, and no one knows who the Son is except the Father, and who the Father is except the Son, and the one to whom the Son wills to reveal him. End quote. Luke chapter 10, verses 1 through 22. Boy.
Just saying that little sentence
Boy.
you gotta understand.
Chill. You just came here and gave me a fist bump. Hold your comment. Number 15. The Good Samaritan. The next story in Luke chapter 10, verses 25 through 37, is that of the Good Samaritan. In the story, the man who had been attacked by bandits symbolizes the 12th legion that had been left half dead by the Jewish bandits on the road from Jerusalem to Jericho at the start of the war. In Josephus's description of the battle, he used the same Greek word used to describe the robbers to depict the rebels that stole the legion's belongings, or Lestes, Lestes, in Wars of the Jews 2:19 and 5:54. The gospel story of the Good Samaritan typologically parallels Titus's marching in from Samaria and refurbishing the legion that had been stripped by the robbers. Quote, now Titus, according to the Roman usage, went in the front of the army after a decent manner and marched with the 12th legion through Samaria to Gophna, a city that had been formerly taken by his father and was then garrisoned by Roman soldiers. And when he had lodged there one night, he marched on in the morning. End quote. And you can find that in Wars of the Jews 5:2 and 50 through 51. Josephus's passage also notes how well provisioned the legion was. The servants of every legion came after these, and before these last. What? Hold on. Josephus's passage also notes how well provisioned the legion was. The servants of every legion came after these, and before these last their baggage. Thus, Luke's parable envisions Titus restoring the legion that had been left half dead and stripped of its belongings on the road from Jerusalem to Jericho, its mules and provisions. Quote, but he, wanting to justify himself, said to Jesus, and who is my neighbor? And Jesus answered and said, a certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves, who stripped him of his clothing, wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a certain priest came down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. Likewise, a Levite, when he arrived at the place, came and looked and passed by on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. So he went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine, and he set him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. On the next day, when he departed, he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said to him, take care of him, and whatever more you spend when I come again, I will repay you. So which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to him who fell among the thieves? And he said, he who showed mercy on him. Then Jesus said to him, go and do likewise. End quote. Luke chapter 10, verses 29 through 37. outside of Jerusalem now. The Gospels now record a series of stories on the outskirts of Jerusalem. These stories are full of conflict between Jesus and the Jews and the martial imagery. The stories parallel the battles between Titus and the Jewish rebels before his triumphant entrance into the city. Number 16, the knocking on the door. Josephus next records the Romans pitching camp outside Jerusalem. He mentions that the Fifth Legion. I found this on the web. What? Siri, I wasn't talking to you. Power down. Knocking on the door. Josephus next records the Romans pitching camp outside Jerusalem. He mentions that the Fifth Legion joined the first two at night, giving Titus a total of 3 legions. These 3 legions were, in effect, knocking on the door of Jerusalem and would soon open it. Quote, what did I say that caused you? Oh, okay. It's kind of close to what we're talking about. The Siege of Jerusalem, Facts and Summary, Britannica, Jews and the Roman Empire, First Jewish-Roman War, the Jewish revolts that the world may know, what is beneath the Temple Mount. Okay. But I know I didn't call your name, Siri. I know I didn't. Quote, but now, as soon as that legion had been at Emmaus, was joined to Caesar at night, he removed thence when it was day and came to a place called Scopus, from whence the city had began already to be seen, and a plain view might be taken of the great temple. Accordingly, this place on the north quarter of the city, and joining thereto, was a plain and very properly named Scopus, or the Prospect, and was no more than 7 furlongs distant from it. And here it was that Titus ordered a camp to be fortified for 2 legions that were to be together, but ordered another camp to be fortified at 3 furlongs farther distance behind them for the 5th legion, for he thought that by marching in the night they might be tired and might deserve to be covered from the enemy, and with less fear might fortify themselves. End quote. And you can find that in Wars of the Jews 5:2, 67 through 68. Oh, okay. Well, that's possible. Yeah. Dana Big Brother's always listening because look, sometimes my phone just out of nowhere snaps pictures, right? Ain't nobody touching my phone. It'll just flash. I'm like, what in the world? But also, and we got sometimes I unplug them, right? But we got an echo in our bedroom. Of course, the Siri on our phone and the smart watches and stuff. I guess we ain't making it really hard for Big Brother to spy on us, right? With all the electronics we got, and we got Alexa and everything. Alexa out of the blue, she'll just answer questions like, Alexa, nobody was talking to you. Power down, you know. Uncle Nathaniel said, he said, when you said Josephus, it kind of sounded a little like Siri. Probably so.
Mom.
Probably so. Thanks, Sootie. I didn't really need it. I left it on my nightstand on purpose, but thank you. I appreciate
Mom,
it.
I did it up here.
Okay.
And I look like Mom.
Okay. You look like me because you put on my stuff.
Because you look like a clover already.
Okay. Luke symbolizes, hold on. Luke symbolizes the 3 legions who are knocking on the door of Jerusalem by describing someone needing, by describing someone needing 3 loaves. The man needed 3 loaves because he had 3 legions to feed, who comes during the night and tries to get someone who has shut his door to open it. Jesus commends the persistence of the knocker who will not leave, thereby getting the door that was shut to be open. Note that the question in the last line, note that the question in the last line, or if he is asked for an egg, he will not give him a scorpion, will he? Is Flavian humor in the same ironic vein as many of the questions above. The scorpion was the name for the Roman artillery piece, the ballista, and it was definitely going to be given to the Jewish rebels. The author mentions a catapult here to set up the triumphant entrance where the stones cry out, which follows. Don't sit there and make noise with it. Quote, and he said to them, which of you shall have a friend and go to him at midnight and say to him, friend, lend me 3 loaves, for a friend of mine has come to me on his journey, and I have nothing to set before him. And he will answer from within and say, do not trouble me. The door is now shut, and my children are with me in bed. I cannot rise and give to you. I say to you, though he will not rise and give to him because he is his friend, yet because of his persistence, he will rise and give him as many as he needs. So I say to you, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be open. Now suppose one of you fathers is asked by his son for a fish. Will he not give him a snake instead of a no? He will not give him a snake instead of a fish, will he? Or if he is asked for an egg, he will not give him a scorpion, will he? End quote. You can find that passage in Luke chapter 11, verse 5 through 12. Number 17, the house of Satan divided against itself. Josephus then describes a house of Satan that is divided against itself. In other words, the different groups of Jewish rebels realized when the Romans showed up that they must join together or their houses would fall. Quote, now, when hitherto the several parties in the city had been dashing one against another perpetually, this foreign war, now suddenly come upon them after a violent manner, put the first stop to their contentions one against another. And as the seditious now saw with astonishment the Romans pitching 3 several camps, they began to think of an awkward sort of concord and said one to another, what do we hear and what do we mean when we suffer 3 fortified walls to be built to coop us in, that we shall not be able to breathe freely? End quote. Wars of the Jews 5:2, 57 through 71. Where I get 57 from? Wars of the Jews 5:2, 71 through 73. Luke describes a transparent parallel to the rebels' plight, the house of Satan divided against itself that will fall. Quote, but he, knowing their thoughts, said to them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and a house divided against a house falls. If Satan also is divided against himself, how will his kingdom stand? Because you say, I cast out demons by Beelzebub. And if I cast out demons by Beelzebub, by whom do your sons cast them out? Therefore, they will be your judges. But if I cast out demons with the finger of God, surely the kingdom of God has come upon you. End quote. Luke chapter 11, 17 through 20. Number 18. Stella, stop. Too much noise. Man in armor who will be overcome. Josephus and Luke next cover the subject of a man in armor who will meet someone stronger and be overcome. Quote, while the enemy is securely building a kind of city in opposition to us, and while we sit still within our own walls and become spectators only of what they are doing, with our hands idle and our armor laid by, as if they were about somewhat that was for our good and advantage. Boy, sometimes them writing back in the day, it still sound like a bunch of gibberish to me.
You should hear what old English sounds like.
Right, it's almost the same old English feel.
Like nothing makes sense at all.
Yeah, We are, it seems, so did they cry out, only courageous against ourselves, while the Romans are likely to gain the city without bloodshed by our
Jeremiah.
sedition. Thus did they encourage one another when they were gotten together, and took their armor immediately, and ran out upon the 10th legion, and fell upon the Romans with great eagerness, and with a prodigious shout, as they were fortifying their camp. End quote. Wars of the Jews, 5:273 through 75. When a strong man, fully armed, quote, when a strong man, fully armed, guards his own palace, his goods are in peace.
Mom.
But when a stronger
Mom.
than he comes upon him,
Mom.
wait, Bella, and overcomes him, he takes him from all his armor in which he trusted and divides his spoils. He who is not with me is against me, and he who does not gather with me scatters. End quote. That's Luke 11:21 through 23. Number 19. Remember, y'all, we are going through the similarities between Titus and Jesus's campaign, right? Well, Titus's campaign and Jesus's ministry, which follows the same exact timeline. The same things happening in Titus's campaign that Jesus does, and i.e. predicts or prophesies that is about to happen, which actually had already happened, right? Those who wrote the New Testament just pretty much used Titus as the savior in New Testament by changing just a few things and changing the name, but it follows the same exact timeline. And those who are familiar with the wars during Titus's time, when those people lived, would be familiar with what the New Testament was, which was a spoof or a parody of what happened during Titus's time. But everybody during Titus's time that read it, they actually understood that and knew that this was just it was something to be laughed at. It was something that was humorous, and they read it in their downtime, right? Like we said the other day, it was like the Saturday Night Live of their time. Is saying the Lord's Prayer a sin?
Mom.
I used to say it for a very long time. I even taught it to my children.
This looks like makeup.
It does.
And look.
Okay.
This looks like a shoe and
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a sin.
And a shade.
When we were saying it, we didn't think we were saying it right. But now that I know who wrote the New Testament, and not everything that you find back there is bad. You can find some good wisdom that you can apply today, right? New Testament, you really can. I'm not saying that you can't, but a lot of it was taken from the Old Testament, and it was stolen from other places in history and just kind of repackaged to give you a whole new story type feel, right? But since I learned all of this stuff, we don't say it anymore. But I'm not going to say yeah, nay, it's a sin to pray. But we just, in my personal experience, we just stopped simply because I understand what the origins of the New Testament is, and I just don't really want to walk any fine lines that, could possibly, could be wrong. I'm not saying it is, but I have chosen not to say it anymore. Yes.
Isn't the Bible just a big giant translation of, what is it? It's like what we call colonizers trying to understand our history. We've done the translation book, but they ain't even doing anything right.
Well, everything has been repackaged, Jeremiah. That's what we're reading, and we're going through some of the details of how it was put together and where they pulled pieces from. So it has been rewritten and given back to people.
Yeah, at the same time, if you think about it,
Mom, I don't need your help.
Okay, very good.
If you think about it, our ancestors purposely lied because they knew what was happening.
Well, yeah, true. But we haven't even gotten to that, Jeremiah. You studying something that we're not even doing up here yet. So when you bring those questions and I have to answer them, we're getting into something we haven't even begun to address yet. So
I mean, hey,
We can talk about those things offline. We're going through deconstructing all the lies, and I'm not in the habit of jumping ahead without bringing the extra information that I can share. So we'll talk about that offline. Let me finish my timeline of going through deconstructing lies so people can understand.
Mommy.
But we will eventually get to that. Yes.
Mom, you done?
All right. Well, we're about to be done because we're at 59. Okay, let me finish. I'm gonna read these last couple. Okay. The number 19. The crowds increase. Josephus and Luke each records the Jews massing around the Son of God. Quote, as the crowds were increasing, end quote, Luke 11 and 29. Quote, the Jews became still more and more in number, end quote, Wars of the Jews 5:2 and 78. Number 20, lying in wait. Luke then describes Jesus being assailed by Jews lying in wait for him and seeking to catch him before his triumphant entrance into Jerusalem. These expressions in Luke symbolize the battle Titus experienced with the Jews before his triumphal entrance into Jerusalem. Quote, and as he said these things to them, the scribes and the Pharisees began to assail him vehemently and to cross-examine him about many things, lying in wait for him and seeking to catch him in something he might say that they might accuse him.
Are you done? Can you make me
End
Pink's
quote.
movie?
You can find that in Luke 11, 53 through 54. Yes, Bella, chill out. Quote, Caesar himself, who spake to them thus, these Jews who are only conducted by their madness, do everything with care and circumspection. They contrive stratagems and lay ambushes. End quote. Wars of the Jews, 5:3 and 121.
Mom.
Yes, sir.
I said, will you make me Pink's movie?
I will. Give me a minute. Okay.
Sometimes, girl, you surprise me with
Number 21, the woe saying Jesus.
Thirsty.
The next parallels form a set that is obvious.
Water.
Listen, if y'all want to have this conversation, can y'all take it in another room? Because y'all just getting louder. Okay, chill. And this is the last one we're going to read because this one is almost 3 pages long with him explaining because he's pulling big sections of quotes from Wars of the Jews and from the Gospels. Okay. 21. The woe saying Jesus. The next parallels form a set that is obvious and has been much discussed by scholars. The first parallel is that of the woe saying Jesus recorded in the Gospels and Josephus. Though many scholars have wondered as to the cause of the obvious connections between the two characters, they have not understood the typological connection between the woe saying Jesuses because they have not noticed the simple puzzle, that places each at the same place in the dual storyline. Josephus recorded that his character began his woe saying 4 years before the start of the war and kept repeating his mantra for 7 years and 5 months. He also recorded that the abomination of desolation, which will be discussed at greater length in chapter 13, occurred at the point foreseen by Daniel. In other words, 3 years and 6 months after the war's beginning. Thus, the woe saying Jesus and Josephus died 1 month before the abomination of desolation at the same point as in the Gospel's storyline. Quote, woe to you, Pharisees, for you love the best seats in the synagogues and greetings in the marketplaces. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like graves which are not seen, and the men who walk over them are not aware of them. Then one of the lawyers answered and said to him, Teacher, by saying these things you reproach us also. And he said, woe to you also, lawyers, for you load men with burdens hard to bear, and you yourselves do not touch burdens with one of your fingers. Woe to you, for you build tombs of the prophets, and your fathers killed them. In fact, you bear witness that you approve the deeds of your fathers, for they indeed killed them, and you build their tombs. Therefore, the wisdom of God also said, I will send them prophets and apostles, and some of them they will kill and persecute, that the blood of all the prophets, which was shed from the foundation of the world, may be required of this generation, from the blood of Abel to the blood of Zechariah, son of Berechiah, who perished during the altar who perish between the altar and the temple. Yes, I say to you, it shall be required of this generation. Woe to you, lawyers, for you have taken away the key of knowledge. You did not enter in yourselves, and those who were entering in, you hindered. End quote. And that's Luke 11:43 through 52. Josephus's recording of a woe saying Jesus will also be discussed at a greater length in chapter 9. This chapter was obviously deliberately linked to the character in the Gospels. The parallels of the woe saying Jesuses are as follows. 1. They enter Jerusalem during one of the pilgrimage festivals, Sukkot and Passover. 2. They deliver an oracle against Jerusalem, the temple, and the people. 3. They are seized by leading citizens. 4. They are beaten and later scourged. 5. They offer no answer to interrogators. 6. They are taken by them to the Roman procurator. 7. They are called a madman, exitokos, exestokos. Compare Mark 3:21, exit. I think I screwed it up. exeste, and also John 7:20. What was that? 7. Number 8, they prophesy their own death, and number 9, they die. Quote, there was one Jesus. There was, there was one Jesus came to the feast whereon it is our custom for everyone to make tabernacles to God in the temple, began on a sudden to cry aloud. A voice from the east, a voice from the west, a voice from the four winds, a voice against Jerusalem and the holy house, a voice against the bridegrooms and the brides, and a voice against this whole people. This was his cry. And as he went about day by day and night in all the lanes of the city. However, a certain of the most eminent among the populace had great indignation at this dire cry of his, and he took up the man and gave him a great number of severe stripes. Yet did he not either say anything for himself or anything peculiar to those that chastised him, but still went on with the same words which he cried before. Hereupon our rulers, supposing, as the case proved to be, that this was a sort of divine fury in the man, brought him to the Roman procurator, where he was whipped till his bones were laid bare. Yet he did not make any supplication for himself, nor shed any tears, but turning his voice to the most lamentable tone possible at every stroke of the whip, his answer was, woe, woe to Jerusalem. Every day uttered these lamentable words as if they were his premeditated vow. Woe, woe to Jerusalem. Woe, woe to the city again, and to the people, and to the holy house. And just as he added at the last, woe, woe to myself also, there came a stone out of one of the engines and smote him and killed him immediately. And as he was uttering the very same presages, he gave up the ghost. End quote. And that's found in Wars of the Jews 6, 5, and 300 through 309. Finally, each of the woe saying Jesuses described a Zacharias' fate at the hands of wicked Jews and foresees woe for the lawyers. Quote, from the blood of Abel to the blood of Zechariah, son of Berechiah, who perished between the altar and the temple, yes, I say to you, it shall be required of this generation. Woe to you, lawyers, for you have taken away the key of knowledge. You did not enter in yourselves, and those who were entering in, you hindered. End quote. Luke 11:51-52. Jesus' statement envisions the following story in Josephus. Notice that not only is the fate of the two Zacharias parallel, but each story depicts wicked lawyers. Quote, and this is the last quote here, y'all. Quote, now when Zechariah clearly saw that there was no way remaining for his escape from them, as having been treacherously called before them and then put in prison, but not with any intention of a legal trial, he took great liberty of speech in that despair of his life he was under. Accordingly, he stood up and laughed at their pretended accusation, and in a few words confuted the crimes laid to his charge, after which he turned his speech to his accusers and went over distinctly all their transgressions of the law and made heavy lamentation upon the confusion they had brought public affairs to. In the meantime, the zealots grew tumultuous and had much ado to abstain from drawing their swords, although they designed to preserve the appearance and show of judicature to the end. They were also desirous, on other accounts, to try the judges whether they would be mindful of what was just at their own peril. Now the 70 judges brought their verdict that the person accused was not guilty, as choosing rather to die themselves with him than to have his death laid at their doors. Hereupon there arose a great clamor of the zealots upon his acquittal, and they all had indignation at the judges for not understanding that the authority was given them, but was but in jest. So two of the boldest of them fell upon Zechariah in the middle of the temple and slew him. And as he fell down dead, they bantered him and said, thou hast also our verdict, and this will prove a more sure acquittal to thee than the other. They also threw him down from the temple immediately into the valley beneath it. Moreover, they struck the judges with the backs of their swords by way of abuse, and thrust them out of the court of the temple, and spared their lives with no other design than that when they were dispersed among the people in the city, they might become their messengers to let them know that they were no better than slaves. End quote. And that's found in Wars of the Jews 4:5 and 338 through 344. And this is where we will pause today. Tomorrow we'll start with 22, innocent beaten worse than the guilty. So we may finish it tomorrow because remember we got 34.
You should watch what episode 2.
Hold on, Jemima. We'll probably finish that tomorrow, but then it goes right into the entrance into the typological system, and it's going to explain it into further detail and how you can further see the truth. If you understand what is happening, how it'll be really clear to you on how they set this up when they wrote the New Testament. So that's going to be good. So we may not finish all of that tomorrow. Hopefully we may, if we can just get right to it. But we may not. But after that section right there, after they go into the details of that, that'll be the end of that chapter, and then we'll go into chapter 6. All right, y'all. So that is it for today. Let me mark my page. Make my note for tomorrow. All right, beautiful people. So it is Saturday, September the 11th. 2021, day 257 of year 3 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 926. And we read the last chapter of Micah, which was Micah chapter 7, and we read the whole book of Nahum, which is only 3 chapters, 1, 2, and 3. We picked up our reading in Caesar's Messiah in chapter 5 on page 116, and we read all the way to page 130. Guys, we getting through this book pretty fast. Getting through this book real fast. We got without the end notes and the what is this? The appendix and everything. All the pages number. It's because I'm not gonna read all of these. What you call this? It is page 412 pages. But this is actually less than what's the last book we read? Fossilized Customs. But we moving through this pretty fast. So, all right, y'all. That is it. Let's go ahead and do the blessing.
No one's too ready to do it.
Yeah, we're about to end it too. Corn for this side.
And get corn.
And
get corn.
A unicorn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Look, it's in the back.
All right, y'all. Okay, hold on. You and the unicorn can hold on just 1 second. Hold on, let me pull it up.
Okay. Now I can talk.
You can. Oh, Facebook, you almost fell off. Okay. Remember, the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. The first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow. Man or woman can take it. Come on, climb up here. Girl, what is this? Lint? Is this lint? Girl. No, that wasn't lint. Okay, let me see your lips. Okay, you good? Okay.
I put some Vaseline up there.
Very good. Okay. Okay. Come on, sis. Earn the unicorn.
Look at unicorn beautiful.
Oh, she is so beautiful, girl. Okay.
Close.
And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying on this wise, Ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah kneel before us, presenting gifts, and will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people, that is it for today. I don't think there are any other questions. Joy said, hey, Bella. Say, hey, Joy.
Hey, Jory.
Okay, y'all, that's it. I see y'all back here tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for hanging out. Bye. Okay. But you might have to touch that for the unicorn. I don't think she has heat coming from her. What's that? Oh, that's dirt. You can get that up. Go ahead. Try it again. Yep, you need to help the unicorn out. She doesn't have real flesh. Mm-hmm.
I know.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, that ain't gonna work. See, her horn is not gonna. Yep. See, that's not working. It's not working. It's not working, Billy. It's not working, Tootie. Use your thumb.
Yeah.
Okay.
I ripped them.
You got rid of them?
Yep. I ripped them.
Oh, okay. She got Facebook turned off. Okay.
Turn this on.
Hold on. Wait. No. Oh, yeah. Hold on. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah. In stream, sis. In stream.
Don't say it. Don't say another one. Thank you.